And now, Lifestyles Unlimited presents the Real Estate Investor Radio Show. Over the next hour, we unfold your map to financial freedom. You'll learn how to retire through investing in single-family and multifamily real estate. You'll learn how to create cash flow and build wealth so you can have the time and money to live the lifestyle you want.
Hello and welcome to the show. This is Andy Webb with Lifestyles Unlimited. And as always, we're working on your financial freedom. And I thank you for tuning in today. I've, a lot of today's show is actually driven by you, questions that I've gotten from you. And I'm going to hit a kind of an array of topics today, as many as I can. A couple of topics here. Tax protests. Yes, here in Texas, the tax protest season rolls on. I have saved on taxes, property taxes so far, and I'm not done yet. So I want to check in on that with you. And we're also going to check in on some lingo, some jargon, some vocabulary that you may hear in real estate investing. I've had a number of guests recently in the single family space, and I just want to kind of shore up some of that conversation, make sure you are in tune with what we're talking about there. One of those questions, by the way, very simply was, Andy, how do I get started? Guys interested? And we're going to address that more later in detail, but I'm going to give you a pro tip right now at the gate. You need to get out to Lifestyles Unlimited's Wealth and Passive Income Expo and be sure to get on the Multifamily Masters Tour. What that is a bus tour where you go out to a number of apartment communities. That's going to be here in the Irving area, Las Colinas, so you'll go around the Dallas-Fort Worth area on these buses with some of our apartment mentors. Dell will be on some of the buses, or on one of the buses, not on multiple, I guess, but he'll be with you, and the syndicators, the lead investors that put those investments together, they're going to be with you. They're going to show you the place. They're going to give you the numbers. They're going to tell you how they turned it around, what kind of money they're making, all the profit, all the juice, all the details, right? Apartments run by successful syndicators, successful lead investors, and that's a good place to go to get started, to learn, right? If you want to learn more about that, text the keyword EXPO, E-X-P-O, to 88007. Again, Expo to 88007. You'll get a link, more information there. But I want to start with, some, quite frankly, tax protest wins. And I hope you're out there winning as well. If you're listening to me in Texas, I hope you protested this year, whether you just have your personal house or you have 50 single-family rental houses or you have a small multifamily. You should be out there fighting this every year. And I tell you this because, man, I'm excited. You probably hear that. I had some really big wins in Tarrant County. Tarrant County, if you're not sure where that is, that's the Fort Worth side of the DFW airport, in essence. We have a lot of properties there. Big wins in Tarrant. Denton County, I've got those coming up, so we'll see. Stay tuned. And I still have not even heard from Dallas County as to when my appraisal review board hearings will be. They haven't scheduled me for quite a few houses, so I'm holding off on that part of the process. No actions. I did send my evidence in, so they've got that. But big wins in Tarrant. And even before I went down and started to work through my process, I filed online and got a big drop just on one house. Saved me $800 just through the online part of the process. About 35, 40K drop in value. I didn't have to think twice. They got pretty close to what I thought it should be. So, hey, I'm just going to take the win and save myself a trip. Didn't do much. Just put $65 a month in cash flow back into my pocket. And all I'm doing are those things that I talked about on a show not too long ago. This was April 26th. Again, go to our website, lifestylesunlimited.com, or go to your favorite podcast app and look for the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. That was April 26th. But I just worked you through the process. I start by protesting online, had a big win there already. If I don't get wins on the other properties, then I just simply go and do an informal discussion with an appraiser. That may be over the phone. That's how I will do Dallas County. I like to go into Tarrant. I have business over there anyhow. So, hey, while I'm in the area, I'm just going to pop in and have an informal discussion. So far, I've not had to go to the third step, which is that appraisal review board, because I've either had wins or, hey, I'm not scheduled. So we'll see. But I was down there this past week and took 3 properties and just blew it up with these guys. Had my first discussion, lots of evidence, lots of details, made my arguments, and the guy met my value. He said, yeah, we can do that. We can do that. In fact, it was so convincing that when I got to my next property, he said, what's your number? Hey, here's what I need. That's what he gave me. Third property, same way. So if you have a good cogent argument, you have your evidence together, you're factual, like we talked about on that earlier show, you can really save some dollars. I saved over $2,000 in property taxes just on those 3 properties. So again, how do you do it? Go listen to that show, April 26th, and learn how to do it. Now, what if you didn't file this year? Is it too late? What if I bought my house after the tax protest window? Is all lost? Is there anything I can do? Well, yeah. Can I still protest? It depends. And the caveat, the footnote is if the appraisal district has made a substantial error in value. And I want you to keep this in your mind as you go through the rest of this year and you go out and you buy rental property, because if you're buying right, you're going to see this opportunity in front of you. And there's a specific part of the tax code in Texas. It's section 25.25D, capital D as in dog. And this basically says that if it's your personal residence that you bought and the appraisal district has it 1/4 or let's say 25% overvalued, then yes, that's considered a substantial error in value. You can go protest that outside of the normal tax window. Now, if it's not your personal house, it's not your homestead. In other words, for me, the investor, for you, the investor, if it's 1/3 overvalued or 33%. So the challenge there, we've got a little bit higher hurdle. But if it's 33% overvalued, then you can file that protest. There are some other caveats. If you already filed a protest in that regular window, well, you can't do it. If you've gone to the ARB, the Appraisal Review Board, no. If you've signed any agreement with the appraisers informally, no, you can't do it. But if you're just buying your house after the window has closed, you probably have not done those things. So 1/3 overvalued for non-homestead properties. I've got two examples here for you. And this was from a recent conversation. The property was on the tax rolls at $190,000 as the value. And this person bought it for $140,000. Well, do the math. Is it 33% overvalued? I just took 140 times 133%. Right, that gets me to 186,200. That is below 190. So yeah, it is. It's over that valuation. In other words, there's a substantial error in value. So another example, I dug up a letter from the very first house we bought back in August of 2012. And I wrote to this was Appraisal Review Board. I said, attention Appraisal Review Board, dear Chairman, on this date, I purchased this address for $100,000. The current assessed value is 50% over the purchase price, so even above that 33%. Under Section 25.25D, I wish to protest the current assessed value of X, $154K, and request that it be adjusted to my purchase price. Enclosed with this letter are my settlement statement, my repair estimates from contractors, and photos reflecting the condition of the property. Thank you for your assistance, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, they match that. Easy peasy. We bought this one in August, okay? Got our tax valuation lowered, and therefore the property taxes that would be then due on that property. The good thing is when we bought the house, the settlement statement was based on that higher value. Therefore, the seller brought more to the closing table as their proration to taxes. So a little bit of change there, right? Spare change that we achieved. But I'll tell you this. If you close late enough in the year, let's say in October, you buy a rental property in October. I had one I bought in November. By way of example, the taxes are actually paid to the county tax assessor at closing because it's so close to the end of the year. Tax bills come out in October anyhow here in Texas. So they were already paid at closing. Well, I did this exact same thing. I said, hey, dear Chairman, I blah, 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 bought, etc. They lowered the value from, I think it was 160 down to 98 in this other property. Well, guess what happened? That reevaluation, that lowering of the value triggered a refund of the taxes paid, at least the difference. Guess who got that? That came to me. The county had me on the records, sent the whole refund to me. Now I've seen it where they send it to the title company. It's happened to me before, and then the title company scratches their head and they send some to me, some to the seller. Either way, yeah, if you've bought outside the window and you've bought right, most commonly because you're following the Lifestyles model and you've bought at a discount, you can absolutely avail yourself of Section 25.25D and get that value lowered. Maybe even make some money. Great opportunity. And speaking of bought at a discount, I'm going to take us away from tax protests now and to some of that vocabulary. I talked on recent shows, past two shows, in fact, I've had guests with me that are single-family investors, and I want to be sure you understand some of the lingo or jargon, right, vocabulary that we may have been using, because I know we get into these conversations. I try to keep us coming back around and defining things for you, but sometimes we don't get there. And a lot of what we talk about and the way we discuss things within this program relates to the Lifestyles Unlimited model when we're buying rental property. The model in a nutshell, it's basically, hey, we're going to go out and find a distressed property or a distressed seller. And due to that distress, they sell it at a discount. They need to fire sell that property, or maybe it's an inherited property they just don't want. Get it out of here, right? We're going to buy it at a discount. We're going to take whatever's wrong with that property. We're going to repair it. We're going to reposition it. Typically with apartments, we're doing the same thing, and we'll use that term reposition. It's a little bit more of a move than what we're doing on a rehab on a single family property. But we'll do that, reposition, renovate, rehab, whatever you want to call it. And then we're going to refinance property. We're going to sit on it for a while, collect the rent, make a profit, and then we're going to sell. We're going to take those proceeds and we're going to reinvest. And some of the vocabulary that may come up that you may have heard us use, I want to get to that here. When we're eyeballing a property that's distressed, like for example, in my statement to the chairman at the Appraisal Review Board, I said, hey, we paid $100K. You've got it on the tax rolls for $150. Okay, I'm buying at a pretty significant discount there. The actual market value was higher, by the way, than what was on the appraisal district tax rolls. That is often the case. Do not use that tax roll valuation as the market value. They are not one-to-one. But we see what the purchase price is. We know it needs some renovations, and we need to figure out, once I go in and do those renovations, what's that thing going to be worth? Very common term that you'll hear, very common acronym is ARV. Not just at Lifestyles Unlimited. This is common across the industry, across the nation, and that stands for after repair value, because yes, we're buying at a discount and going in and doing repairs. That pushes up the value. Now, you may also hear some realtors use a different term, which is ARP. That stands for after repair price opinion. A realtor is going to say, hey, I'm not an appraiser. I cannot assign value. I can tell you what I think the price is worth, right? Or what you can list that for on the market. So ARV, ARP, that's the market value when we're done doing those repairs, when we've repositioned that house. Now, how do we get there? Well, we do rehab or renovations. And sometimes the level of those renovations are so substantial that I can't just go out and go down to my local big box bank and get a loan. I have to use a special tool. Very important. Very, very important. So stay tuned so we can get to that after the break.
Lifestyles Unlimited's Real Estate Investor Radio Show returns in a moment. Got questions? Go to lifestylesunlimited.com.
Lifestyles Unlimited member Lisa on how our educators and mentors share their knowledge.
The whole Lifestyles Unlimited team is just wonderful, and all the people in it is basically copying what I do so you could be successful.
Lifestyles Unlimited. Over 33 years teaching the real estate retirement roadmap. Text the word radio to 88007. That's radio to 88007. Join for just $297 and save 60%. Lifestyles Unlimited. Text radio to 88007.
Creating the lifestyle you've always wanted. You're hearing Lifestyles Unlimited's Real Estate Investor Radio Show.
Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Andy Webb. I'm fired up today. I've had a lot of big wins down at the county appraisal districts on the property tax side. If you didn't get that in my voice, in my tone, yeah, I'm thrilled to death, and the battle continues, man. It's going to keep going. But we shifted away from property taxes, and we're talking now just a little bit about the Lifestyles Unlimited model and some of the lingo, some of the jargon you may hear us use on air, because I've had a lot of guests lately talking about these very things. So we already talked about ARV, ARP, right? After repair value, after repair price opinion. We're buying at a discount. We're doing renovations, and there's any level of repairs, rehab that you may do. I guess more recently, wow, they're doing a lot. They're doing $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 renovations. But here's the cool part. Here's the really cool part and the important part for you. They're not out of pocket 70, 80, 90K due to those renovations. We use a very unique tool called hard money. This is a type of bridge loan or construction loan that does not care about the condition of the property right now, because you can bet when I'm buying that for $50K and doing $100K in repairs, that thing probably will not be financeable with conventional lending at your big box bank. It absolutely will not be. Hard money, however, is very forward-looking, and it looks at that ARV and it says, well, I know that when you fix it up, it's going to be worth, let's just say, $200K. We're going to lend you 75% of that $200K, that after repair value, so here's $150K. Guess what? That covers my $50K purchase price. That covers some portion of my rehab, maybe all of it. And it's a wonderful thing when you can roll all of that into a loan because your cash out of pocket goes down, 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 right? So we use hard money to buy these discounted properties, and not always just because of the condition. Sometimes we need to close in a hurry. It may be headed for the foreclosure sale, and we need to close tomorrow. Hard money can do that. Maybe not tomorrow. Maybe you need a few days, but typically very, very quickly. And this discount that we're getting, this use of that specialized tool called hard money, that leads to something that I want you to understand, which is called equity capture. And one of my guests more recently, I think she was $15,000 out of pocket to buy this house. And it was, I remember the number, $76,000 in rehab. I do not remember her purchase price, and I do not remember the after repair value, but I remember that her equity at the end of the day that she's capturing was around $50K. So she's got $15,000 of her own equity in the property and an additional $50,000 on top. That $50,000 is equity capture. That is money that she's made just through the very start of this process. Capital gain. Now that is on paper until you sell, but at some point, like we said, we do sell, we do harvest those gains so that we can reinvest those. But again, equity capture, very important word. We use that a lot on the program, and I'm looking at an email blast that I got from one of the realty team down in Houston. Here they tell me purchase price $127K, right? After repair price opinion or value $233K. So there's a pretty good spread there already. Estimated out of pocket using hard money. They underline that for me, $22,000. Very, very minimal. Equity capture $40,000. So that's not just a doubling of my money. That's almost a tripling of my money. I'll have 22 in that property plus another 40. My equity plus the equity capture. You need to get that notion in your head because there is a lot of equity in the market right now that you can be investing in and buying. It's very easy to do. So we get that equity capture. We calculate the return, by the way. We call that a return on capital gain. So I'm going to divide that $40K by the 22 that I've got in this deal out of pocket, and that'll give me whatever that is, 180%, something like that, 280% rather. And then we have our cash on cash return, another number, another phrase that we use quite a lot because these are held for a period of time as rentals. We're not flipping these. We hang on to these. There are a lot of reasons for that, tax advantages, etc. But we are sitting on these. And in this particular example, cash flow per month, the net profit that I'm going to be keeping after I collect the gross rent, pay the fixed expenses, $260, right? Annualize that number, divide that by your investment into the property, that 22K, bam, 17% cash on cash return. Those are the two numbers we're typically looking at, cash on cash return and that gain, that return on capital gain through the equity capture. Now, I know I went through those pretty quickly, but you can go back to our website, lifestylesunlimited.com. You can tune into, we have decades of radio shows there archived where we talk about these in various contexts. We have various examples. We bring on various members that will tell you about their investments. If you just go back the past 2 weeks, I had Corinne on and I had Morgan on. We got into some of their investments. We got into some of their numbers, so you can hear more there. But I wanted you to have those terms before, and these are single family. I'm looking at single family, but a lot of this terminology, a lot of this vocabulary, we will also see in the apartment space in multifamily. So I want to shift gears now and get to some of the listener questions. I got a lot. Clearly, you are interested in apartments. I love single family. I will always have single family in my portfolio, but clearly apartments are really resonating with you right now. So let's talk about that. I got a number of questions. One was, I already touched on this, how do I get started? Another one, I was a little concerned about the price tag to become a member. And if I get to the third one, we'll see how we're doing on time. The question was, what kind of cash flow and tax advantages can I expect on a certain level of investment? So let's start with the first one, which is everyone's question. How do I do it? How do I get started? Well, we want you to be informed. And it's interesting because a lot of members, when they first came to the 2-day, they thought they're going to do single family. And they sat through all day on the single family and said, this is it. And then they come back to the multifamily. They're like, wait a minute. I can do apartments. Yeah, eye-opening, very eye-opening. And yes, you can. So we talked about a couple weeks ago. and they shift. Now they're doing apartments. I have seen it go the other way. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to text the keyword radio, R-A-D-I-O, radio, to 88007. Right now there's a discount, 60%. Once you become a member of the Financial Freedom Program, that's when you go to the 2-day. And you can go to the 2-day as many times as you want. So when we're talking about lingo and jargon earlier in the show, and you didn't quite catch something, you go to the 2-day and maybe it didn't quite sit right, you can come back. You can come back again. Now, thinking about apartments, that is where we talk about our preferred investor group. And this is a higher level group. There is it's focused squarely and only on apartment investing. There is a ton of education that you do there. You get educated. And for the passive lingo, like we just learned on single family, you're going to learn that. What is a PPM? Right? Private placement memorandum. In fact, you're not only going to learn that a PPM is a private placement memorandum, you're going to learn how to read that. In fact, there's a massive course, a 4-part course on really diving into the business plan. This is stuff you need to know if you're going to commit your money to an apartment syndication. How to read that, how the returns are calculated, what to look for in the business plan, etc. Best practices. But it doesn't stop there. It's not just the education. A lot of this is online. We have a lot of seminars, online webinars, live events, lunch and learns, etc. And then case studies. And then probably the most important thing, I think, is the multifamily road trips. These are monthly in Dallas, monthly in Houston, Central Texas, other locations. And you can come out in person, or you can also do these online. And the education continues. And not just the education. The mentors will be there, some, 1, 2, maybe all, for you to talk with. And how many members are going to be on site? I couldn't even tell you. It is networking galore. There will be people that are already invested passively in 2 apartment investments, 20, 60. Yeah, we've got super passives that are in that many investments or more. There will be lead investors, people that are putting together their first deal, IROs, anybody that you need to talk to is going to be on hand there. Easily a ton of value there with that multifamily road trip. And of course, there's the Expo. I already mentioned that. If you want to learn more, text the keyword Expo, EXPO, to 88007. But you can register, sign up. But it's a ton of education. So how do I get started? Well, just like before I went and jumped out of that airplane, I did the coursework. I learned what I needed to do. Before I invested in my first apartment community, I got the education. And that leads me to my next question. I had one listener, he's very interested as well. Mentioned his capital on hand. He can do a lot in the apartment space, but he's hesitant now due to the price to join the preferred group. And I don't know, the prices vary. I'm not going to get into that here, but I have a few thoughts that I want to share here. When it comes to a price tag, whether it's the Financial Freedom Program, again, that's discounted right now for you. 60%, but I just outlined the level of coursework that's available for you. I touched on the large volume. There's a ton of networking events that we host, plus a team of highly experienced investors that are serving as mentors, as operation consultants. The value is there. But here's another way to look at it. I'm not just active in the lifestyle space. I get out, I go to other networking groups, I talk to other investors. As a single family guy, I've picked up a lot of leads that way on houses, bought some houses that way, but I see a lot of guys that are out there syndicating, right outside of the lifestyles network. So yeah, there are other places in the market. If you don't want to pay the fee to become a member, hey, go do it. Go look around. There are lots of places to go in the market. But do you really know what you're getting into if you do not have a proper education? And I want to talk about fees in particular because I did look at a deal, an investment opportunity. Let me strike that word deal, an investment opportunity for syndication to participate as a passive or a limited partner. And the purchase price for these apartments was around $35 million purchase price. It had a lot of fees. And I sat through this webinar and they talked about the market and they talked about their track record and they talked about the history of the property. And they talked about how the rents are below market and all the things they're going to do. And I patiently waited. And then at the very end came the fees. This one, for example, had a 1.5% acquisition fee that the syndicators, the general partner team, and I say team because there were, 5, 6, 8 different people that were part of the GP team. At Lifestyles Unlimited, we have one lead investor. Are you paying 8 people? You're paying 1 in your investment. But this team was charging 1.5% of $35 million purchase price. That's $525,000 out the door right there. That is coming out of your share of the profits. By the way, if they say they have skin in the game, do they really when they come to the closing table and immediately get $500,000 right back into their pockets? I don't know, but you're definitely paying right there. Oh, and then there was a loan guarantor fee because they're going to get a loan on the property. That was like a, I don't know, 1/8%. That's another $44,000. Bam, right there, gone. And then if you get the thing repositioned, there were some other fees in there for the rehab management and for this thing and for that thing. But if you get to the table where, you reposition it, you're going to go to the refi table, another fee, another close to $88,000. So you don't see those sort of fees when you're investing with our leads at Lifestyles Unlimited. We have a white paper that guides them and gives them direction, and we don't want to see these sort of things. We want our passive investors to have a level of protection, and part of that protection is not getting eaten up by fees. So yeah, I get it. If you're worried about paying a membership price or whatever, you're going to be paying that one way or the other. You just don't, you're going to get feed to death, so to speak. Pay me now, pay me later. You will pay, right? And then third thing I'd say is, boy, there's something about the psychology of paying for something. And I see this all the time in the houses that I buy that were inherited. People that have no financial commitment to those properties, they don't take care of them. They run them into the ground because they have no money involved. And I want to use that to relate a story about a very, very successful lead investor at Lifestyles Unlimited. He's led, I think it's 10 multifamily syndications since he's joined. He still manages and operates a number of those. I can't tell you how many passive investors I talk to that want to get into his syndications. So he is killing it. He is doing awesome. He has changed his life. He's changed the lives of I don't know how many people around him, but he almost didn't do it. You know what caught him? You know what got him to do it? Way back when. I don't remember the year. And he's happy to tell you his story, but he paid the price to become a Financial Freedom Program member, a couple $100, whatever it was, $250 for a year. Joined in, let's say, February, didn't do anything in March or April, didn't go to the 2-day, didn't do anything in May or June, got busy with life, right? November, Thanksgiving comes and goes, Christmas. Finally, January rolls around and he realizes, wait a minute, I paid this money and I never got my money's worth. I'm going to go to this 2-day because I paid for it. And he did. And his eyes were opened on day 1 and his eyes were opened on day 2. And he saw the value and he became a member, upgraded, got into apartments. And like I said, boy, he has been changing his life and the lives of those around him for some time now. So sometimes that financial commitment will propel you forward. Right? For him, it was a couple $100 that got him to the table, and that's important. So I see we're running out of time. A third question, we'll bring that up on another show. The question was, what sort of returns and tax advantages can I get? I think it's an important question. We will absolutely take that up and talk a little bit more in detail about apartments. But whether it's single family or multifamily, you do need to get an education. You need to learn the lingo. You need to learn what we're talking about. You need to learn what you're looking at so you don't get feed to death when you go into that syndication. So great questions. Keep them coming. Send those my way to askandy@luinc.com. Again, askandy@luinc. And just to tease next week's show, we're not going to get into those apartments next week. I'm going to give you a wrap-up. I went to Kansas City, Missouri a couple weeks ago to check out that market, to meet with the realty team there. I'm going to give you my feedback, tell you all about that market. I've got a special guest as well, so be sure to tune in. And remember, it's not the money, it's the lifestyle. Have a great day.
The information and opinions you hear on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show are those of the hosts, guests, and callers. The Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.